YouTube changed me a lot in a lot of ways that I never assumed it would. Personally, professionally, I've learned a lot of things and I've grown out of my shell. Now, I do things differently. And in this video, I'm gonna talk about how doing YouTube, how being on YouTube changed me and grew me as a marketer, and how I currently approach things in marketing, several things that I used to do in a different way, how I do them now. So call it learnings, call it how it changed me, but we're definitely gonna talk about how my perception evolved into certain things in marketing and how I currently do things as a marketer. The lessons that I'm going to talk about today, I think, are really valid and valuable. So if you're interested, stick around till the very end, because I think these are going to be important lessons for you to hear. So that's the intro. I'm just going to hop into talking about the learnings. But before I do that, I just want to say that if you're new here, then consider subscribing for more videos like this one. Check out the other ones on the channel. And if you end up finding value in this video, please don't forget to hit the like button before you leave. The number one thing that YouTube taught me or helped me realize is the importance of building a community and engaging with the audience, real people. I know that it takes a lot more time than the traditional communication methods like randomly selecting people and getting in touch with them, or doing surveys, or doing social listening in silence. Communicating this to your leadership team may be really difficult, but if you are able to do it, it's really, really worth it. I've created some of my most popular content because of some of the one-on-one conversations I've had with people, or because of the individual emails that I paid attention to, or because I was able to connect with them and ask them their direct feedback or ideas, or sometimes even brainstormed with my audience. So I really involved them in the content strategy process, and through that, I guess I was able to create this sense of community, the sense of tribe, and I'm really proud of being able to do that, because as a junior marketer, I didn't have that. I didn't have my tribe. I didn't have people to connect with that were kind of in the same phase of life with me and same, I guess, struggles and same journey with me. And being able to do that, being able to bring people together that share similar values and share similar challenges in a journey, it's just priceless. It's rare that a brand can reply to every single email they receive, or a social media message, or a DM or comment, and it's very difficult to attribute this to a marketing goal. I mean, how would you do that in a company? Like, think about it. We replied to 100% of the social media messages in the month of April. Way to go! So the attribution part is very difficult, and usually marketers and marketing goals are really aligned, really kind of focused in on that, but then you miss out on this opportunity that can really bring you a loyal customer or fan base that enjoy talking about you, that enjoy sharing your story with other people, sharing your content with their friends and network through WhatsApp messages. I mean, I see that in my YouTube analytics. You know, when I look at the traffic sources, one of the main ones sometimes for some videos is WhatsApp. And that means that the content that I put out there resonates so much with these people that they want to send it with their direct network. And that is just priceless for me, because then you're creating a community where you can get direct feedback loops from. And that actually brings me to my next point, which is value of direct feedback and qualitative input versus only looking at metrics and data. So I wouldn't say that I was never really paying attention to the qualitative input or qualitative data, but I wasn't paying this much attention and putting this much effort into qualitative data versus quantitative data, which you can get from your analytics or your dashboards, your metrics, your KPIs, and all of that. But now I'm paying maybe equal, maybe sometimes more attention to surveys, polls, Q&As, DMs, email that people write to me about their personal challenges or personal struggles with certain phase of their journey. I really pay attention to those, and I actually not only read them, but I also try to reply so I can actually start that conversation, try to understand their problems and what can be of help to them. There's just so much feedback opportunity and qualitative input if you're just willing to see it, hear it, and invest the time into collecting that. Next thing is that YouTube brought back the human aspect into marketing for me, and that is huge, and I really love YouTube for doing this for me, because traditionally my job as a digital marketer would be to communicate the brand's message using digital channels, obviously in a way that's engaging, timely, and relevant for my audience, but I wouldn't necessarily put a face on that communication, or I hadn't thought of putting a face to that communication. You know, it was the brand. Yes, I was trying to make the brand more personable, more authentic, and more inviting, but I wouldn't necessarily put a face on that brand and I was missing out. I can tell you that. In my traditional jobs, I wouldn't have direct conversations and get to know them. Now, I actually know some of the certain names in my audience. I know where they're from. I know if they have kids. I know what phase of their career journey they're in. I know them as a person, and we don't only talk about marketing or their careers, but we also talk about, I don't know, their favorite fruit tree in their garden or what they eat on a certain public holiday, you know, how they cook a certain dish, etc. So I get to know them in person and more personally and more closely, and that has been invaluable, and that has just brought back that, I guess, human aspect, understanding your audience and understanding them as a human being rather than just as a buyer of your product or services. And with that, I was also able to bring the relationship building piece into how I do marketing, how I run my business. And it's somewhat similar to account-based marketing. If any of you know about that, then the relationship building piece may be familiar with that. The thing is, I know that I won't be able to do this at a scale. You know, if I had like hundreds of thousands of followers or maybe millions of followers, even maybe one day, I wouldn't maybe be able to do this at a scale. I wouldn't be able to catch up with all the messages, but I know that I would still pay attention to this and I would still try to put in practices, I guess, processes that would enable me to still have those conversations and still get to know the people, because I guess it also brings more power, success, and more importantly, fulfillment for myself. Next one is an important one, and it was a big awakening for me because I've learned finally that attribution is not a straightforward concept. It's very difficult to understand or figure out what makes people light up and what makes them connect with you and buy your products and services. Sometimes it's a personal story that you tell. Sometimes it's, I don't know, it's a poster that you have in the background of your videos, of your content, whatever, in YouTuber's case, but you never actually understand, out of all the touch points that you have with your audience, which one really got them to move to the next stage and become a customer. So I guess the learning here is that attribution isn't easy to figure out, but I don't know how to actually do that calculation. I guess my learning here is that just to keep paying more attention to the qualitative side of things and to bring the human back in the picture, but I don't necessarily know how to kind of attribute the success to any personal story that I've told here for some of the people that have become customers of mine or that have become loyal fans of mine, or, you know, for any other brand for that matter. I haven't figured out how to attach metrics to it, but I've just learned that it's just not as easy as we think it is, and it's not a straight line. And last but not least is that digital marketing is a skill that expands being in the ownership of marketers. And what do I mean by this? So every creator on YouTube, or it doesn't necessarily have to be YouTube, it could also be a blog, a TikTok channel, whatever it could be, but every creator essentially is a marketer or has to become one. Even if your experience is in gardening or interior design or personal finance, you still run a full circle business and you have to do your own marketing. You have to do your kind of content distribution. You have to do all those things because that's just how it works. You have to communicate your message to a wider audience. You have to learn how to grow your channel. You have to learn how to grow your business, and that comes with marketing. Once you kind of step your toes into the water, you need to go all in and start swimming, because that's self-learning. You start to learn on your own. You start to practice, experiment, and you learn by doing. And if you watched other videos of mine, you know that I preach about this all the time. I talk about doing things and learning as you go and experimenting and gaining experience by building things, by doing self-learning. When you start somewhere and stick with your learning journey, you just eventually become better at it, or you realize what your shortcomings are and you get support and you get help with those shortcomings. But experimenting is the best way to learn. So if you want to be a marketer, if you want to learn how to do better marketing, then just start doing it to become better at it, and let your journey kind of shape you and shape your thoughts and ways of doing things. I'm really curious to know, are you a creator on YouTube, or are you ever thinking of this, or are you thinking of implementing a video marketing strategy for a business that you work with? I'd love to hear from you and learn from you. Go ahead and write me in the comments. And that's a wrap for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you're still with me here at this point, and if you haven't liked the video, please go ahead and give it a like. And if you're not subscribed already, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. And I will see you next week with a new video. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.